Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In this video, I will not be creating a new project to work on. What I'll do is I'll work on few prerequisites. So one such prerequisite is MySQL database server. So what I'll do, as I mentioned earlier, I'll be using MySQL for storing the data. So the main database what we use will be MySQL community server. So what I'll do, let me go ahead and show you how to download and install it on your Mac machine. Let me pull a browser tab onto the screen and I'll search for MySQL community server download. Okay, the actual link for this would be dev.mysql.com/download/mysql. So this will be the correct URL if you want to download that from the official website. So you can select the operating system based on your machine's operating system. So since I use Mac OS, I select Mac OS. So if you are using the Windows, you can use Microsoft Windows. If you are using any other Linux, which is listed here, you can use. So generally, if you are using Ubuntu, choose Ubuntu. Fedora, choose Fedora. There will be a generic as well, the generic application as well, which can be used in the Linux. So you can choose this as well. So let me choose macOS as I'm using a Apple machine and select OS version. I'll give it as only two architectures are available. One is x86 Intel based architecture. Another one is ARM, which is Apple's M1 chip. So since my MacBook Air is of x86 architecture, I will go ahead and download this particular DMG file. So as of now, I have already downloaded and kept it in my files. So I will not be downloading it again. Let me directly pull my files where in the downloads I have a MySQL 8.0.30 DMG file. So once you download this using this link or any of the link, so in the application you have to open and double click on this. So when you double click, it will show you the package like this. Again, double click on that. What it will do is it will open a window where the installation instructions will be given. So this says thank you for choosing MySQL server, blah blah blah. I'll click on continue. So there will be a software license agreement. This will be a GNU General Public License. Uh, as you all know, MySQL is an open source software. I'll give continue. It says that you have to agree. I'll click on agree. It will say installation type. So this will take 786.2 MB of space on your computer. Agree for that and click on install. It will ask for a password. This will be your machine's password. So let me enter my Mac machine's password and it says writing file. So once the installation is done, it will directly land onto summary page for me because I have already installed this particular server. But if you are installing it for the first time, it will land in the configuration page where it will ask you for a password. So this particular password you are entering in configuration will be specific for actual root user. So please enter that with caution and store that password somewhere if you want to store it and if you feel like you'll be forgetting this. And then again, once you are done with the password, it will land onto summary. Click on close. Your installation will be completed. Now we will see how can we access this particular MySQL database. So what I'll do, I have a terminal here open. So let me navigate to a folder called USR and local. So if you see I'm in USR local folder, let me list out the files, whatever is there. You'll see different MySQL versions. So one MySQL I have here and MySQL 8.0.30. This is the actual one which we have already downloaded and installed. Let me again navigate to that folder using cd command and list the files whatever available. If you see here, we have license, bin, support files, man, share, etc. etc. So bin and support files are the two different folders which we will be specifically looking into. So what I'll do, I'll go inside this particular folder. So let me do cd support files. So now if you see, I'm in the support files folder. So user, local, MySQL version and support files. So if I list out, I have MySQL log rotate, MySQL.server and MySQL multi-server. So now actually my MySQL server is running. I was testing it out before recording this video and my MySQL server is running. So MySQL server is a bash script, and in this particular folder, support file folder, if you want to execute this particular shell script, you need to be a super user. So what I'll do, sudo dot slash mysql dot server. So this is the executable file actually, and I will say restart. Okay, so if you are doing it for the first time, you can just write sudo dot slash mysql dot server and start. Okay, since I already did something for experiment before recording this video, my server is already running. I forgot to stop, so what I'll do, I'll do a restart, or let me do a stop. Okay, so it will ask for the password. Again, this will be your machine's password. So it says shutting down MySQL and success. Okay, let me clear my console. So if you are doing it for the first time, your query will be started. Okay, sudo mysql.server start. Okay, it will ask you for the password. Since I have already entered, it's not prompting me again. It says success. So you can write the commands like start or stop or restart. These are related to your server, MySQL server. So it should start with sudo dot slash MySQL dot server and the following command. So now what I'll do, so now if you see my server is running, so what I'll do, let me go back one folder, and there was a bin folder if you see. Okay, let me land here. When I do a list, you see the bin, right? So bin is the binary folder where we find the MySQL executable. So I will go to bin folder, and when I list out what's the contents of that, so you can see MySQL admin, MySQL bin log, MySQL import, and MySQL. This MySQL is actual executable file which we are concentrating on. So what I will do, I will log into MySQL as a root user. So as I told, if you remember in the installation process, it will land back on a configuration page where you have to create a password for root user. I did not land up in that, but you would have been definitely land up on that page if you are doing it for the first time. Okay, so I will write the command. So here there is no need of sudo. So the super user should not be there for accessing. So what I'll do is I'll run this MySQL. So MySQL is an executable. Minus U, which specifies the username. Username is root. Minus P. Minus P, what it does is it will prompt for a password. When I click on enter, it asks enter a password. So this password is not your Mac password or not your machine's password. This is the password which you set during the installation process for the root user. Let me enter that password and click on enter. It says your connection ID is 8 and the community server details and all it will give, and it will give you a prompt of MySQL. So here I had a ZSH prompt and now I changed to MySQL. So if you want to verify, we can run the command called show databases. So this is command in MySQL, or this is a query in MySQL to list out all the available databases. Okay, so this is information schema, MySQL, performance schema, photo app, as well as these are the databases which are already available. This photo app is a temporary one I have created. So if you want to create a new database, we can write a command called create database employee DB. Okay, so where we most probably in this entire tutorial will be dealing with employee database. So it says query OK, one row affected when I hit enter. So what I can do is now I can write again show databases, and here we go, employee DB popped up. So if you want to use this particular database, what I have to do is I have to run the command use employee underscore DB, which is database changed. And now we are accessing the employee database, and whatever the query we write will be added in employee DB. So now if you observe, what's happening is I have logged in as a root user. Okay. It's not ideal to use the root user in your application. So when we write a Spring Boot application, we need to make a connection from server to database, right? So in that case, it is not suggested to use the root password and root user, because you need to store them in the property file. So when I explain you the database connection in Spring Boot, you'll come to know. So the process is like we have to store that username and password details in the Spring Boot application so that it will make a connection. For that, root user using is not ideal because root user will have different privileges. So for that, what we will do is we will create a new user for our application purpose to connect the application. So now let me run a query. If you want, you can follow with me and you can create your own user as well. So I'll run the query, create user and the username and host. So this particular portion will be username, this particular portion will be host. So my host is localhost. Username, what I will do, I'll create a user called Shiva Prasad. Okay, Shiva Prasad at the rate localhost is my user. Identified by, what we have to do is we have to create a password for that. So let me keep my username and password same. It's not suggested to keep it same. So you can create your own password. For the demonstration purpose, what I'm doing is I'm creating it same. So what I have done, I'm executing a create user command. My user is Shiva Prasad. Host is localhost. Identified by, password is Shiva Prasad. So when I execute this, it says query OK, 0 rows affected. So actually I have created the user. What I have to do is I have to grant the privileges to this particular user. Say for example, this user should have access to this database, but it should not have access to any other database I have already created. So this is where I have to grant the privileges for the particular user. So what I will do is I will run another query for giving the privileges. Okay. So what I'll do is grant privileges on employee underscore db dot star to, again, username and host. My username is Shiva Prasad, host is localhost. What I have done is I have written a query to grant privileges on employee underscore db to this particular user. So what it says is grant privileges on employee db star dot star. Okay. So there is a query, a keyword missing. So what I have to do is I have to add all keywords. This is my bad. Grant all privileges, right? All privileges on employee DB to show Prasad localhost. So it says query OK. So to be more clear, I missed this keyword while writing the query. I did not note it anywhere when I was practicing. I directly entered. So this was missed. So now I added all, grant all privileges. The privileges like create, alter, drop, insert, update, delete, select, all kind of privileges. So this particular user Shiva Prasad can do create a table, alter a table, drop a table. Everything can be done for this particular database. So what I'll do is I'll fresh the privileges. So once I do fresh privileges, I have to restart the server. So these changes will be applied properly when you restart the server. So what I'll do, I'll come one folder back and go to support files. So here what I'll do, as a sudo user, mysql.server is the executable and I'll say restart. So when I restart, it will ask for a password. I will enter my Mac machine's password. It is shutting down the MySQL server and it restarted. Let me go one folder back, go to bin. Now what I'll do, MySQL -u. Now I'll select Shiva Prasad user. Just now I created this user, I will select and I'll say -p, that prompt for a password. This is Shiva Prasad again. When I enter, now again it is successfully logged in, but this time not with the root user, but with the Shiva Prasad user. When I click on, when I type show databases, it will show me the DB details, employee DB, information schema, and performance schema. If you see, so here when I did show databases for the root user, it had all these databases. So information schema and performance schema is common for all the users. MySQL, photo app, SYS and all not there for this particular user. So this user is only for this particular database. So this is safe now. So if we make the user details public as well, so other database access will not be there for this user. So this is the ideal use case of using the MySQL database. So if you are defining a specific application and you have a specified database, what you can do is you can create a user and grant all privileges for that user on that database and use that user only for the application so that everything will be safe. So if you want to use that, use employee DB. This is the command we run, database change. If you want to create a table, this query you can run, everything will work smooth. There will be no problem at all. So this was the video on installation of MySQL. In the next video, we will see how do we connect this MySQL server with a client called MySQL Workbench. And also we will see how Postman works or how to install Postman and make that working before starting the new project. Once that is done, we will create a new Spring Boot project, we start a project and we'll start implementing our code. Catch you up in the next video. Thank you.